Welcome to Robert Bellissimo at the Movies, where we explore all things cinema. I want to welcome back to the show Mikel Guillon, who is a writer, director, and producer. Mikel, welcome back. Always great to have you.
Thank you, Rob. It's always a pleasure speaking with you about cinema.
And we're going into film noir territory this time. We did Shoe Shine last time. We did The Piano Teacher. So now we're doing something very different, talking about the film. Even though not everyone thinks it's a film noir, but I mean we certainly do. But we'll touch on that. But for people who have not seen the film, I'll just read a brief synopsis. Um, New York City newspaper writer J.J. Hunsaker holds considerable sway over public opinion with his Broadway column, but one thing that he can't control is his younger sister Susan, who is in a relationship with aspiring jazz guitarist Steve Dallas. Hunsaker strongly disapproves of the romance and recruits publicist Sidney Falco to find a way to split the couple, no matter how ruthless the method. This starred Burt Lancaster, Tony Curtis, Susan Harrison, and Martin Milner. It was directed by Alexander Mackendrick. It was written by Ernest Lehman and Clifford Odets, and of course, the amazing cinematography by James Wong Howe. Okay, so do you remember when you first saw this, Mikael, and what you initially thought?
Yeah, I've watched it a few times, and it's always very inspiring because of the cinematography, and of course, the performances are beyond strong. And I mean, from the get-go, when he says, when JJ says, "I love this dirty town," it reminds me of, it reminds me of that city, a really sordid New York,
Yeah,
just like Taxi Driver. It's this greedy, dirty, sort of slimy place, and it blew me away the first time.
yeah, yeah, me too. I've seen it quite a few times. I was trying to remember the first time I saw it. Uh, Definitely, two in the last 20 years for sure. But I've seen it. I've seen it a number of times, and I mean, to me, it's just a perfect film. I don't know how people can say it's not some because there isn't a femme fatale and there isn't someone pulling a trigger. But in so many ways, it is the soul of film noir because we have characters who are so greedy, will do anything to achieve their ambitions, have no feeling for one another, no morals. I mean, that's just quintessentially noir. I don't know,
Right.
I don't know how people. What makes it a noir for you?
Well, there are obviously the first one is it has to be an amazing cinematography.
Yeah,
Second, the characters and the tensions. I mean, how the tensions are presented. And Usually there's a crime, and there are a few elements like the film noir, the detective, the possible suspects, and the resolution, right? But there's a sense of dread of that you don't know what's happening. That crime, because you have to remember that crime is a subject that is extremely appealing
yeah,
as a popular subject, right? And just take a look at what America likes to watch, like
yeah. That's true.
2020 and 48 hours and all these things. And just people are obsessed with crime, with
Yeah.
killing people. And in this case, one of the things that I find absolutely amazing, well, two things. One is the way that the film is shot, there are certain places where they're too cramped, too intense. There's so many things in the frame, so many people, so many bars, like that bar 21 on the film. And the way it's shot is absolutely beautiful
Yeah.
because the blacks have real blacks, the whites have real whites. I'm talking obviously about whites. And it just gives a very unique anxiety to watch it. Obviously, the second thing would be the dialogues because the
Oh, yeah.
dialogues are unbelievably so well performed that they come so natural, even though they're super complex.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, because and you know that a movie is influential in America, or at least in North America, when people start using those phrases as part of their lives. You know, like the cat is in the bag and the bag is in the river. It's
Yeah.
from there, right? You know,
Yeah.
it's a done deal, right? And the same as you know. Match me. What is it called? Sandy
Sydney,
Falcon,
Sydney,
Cindy.
Sydney. Yeah. Match me, Sydney.
Cindy. Yeah, match me Cindy, or the a cookie full of organic, right? So those things are extremely difficult to pull off as an
Yeah.
actor
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
a natural way. That sounds because these are fictional ones. They become a say through time, but somebody wrote them, and that's obviously hats off for
Yeah.
those writers, right?
Yeah, Odets and Lehman. I'm not sure how much. Maybe someone in the watching might know, but I'm not sure if because Clifford Odets like was brought on to spice up the script, Lehman's script. So I'm not sure if he rewrote all the dialogue or if he just changed or added things. I'm not sure. I mean, a lot of the dialogue people attribute to him. So but I mean,
Right,
maybe someone watching might know, but I mean, it's people. It sounds very much like his voice because he had this sort of, all of his plays like "Awake and Sing," "Golden Boy," "Waiting for Lefty." They're very poetic. He's
right,
really good at turning like ordinary talk, street talk into like poetry. So I mean,
right.
it sounds very much like his voice. But apparently, Mackendrick, the director, was worried about the dialogue because he thought, "Oh, this is so stylized. What maybe people won't believe it." And Odets just said, play it fast, get the actors to commit to it, block the scenes and the situations, just play it for realistically. And I'm paraphrasing what he said, but play it fast, and they pull it off beautifully because, like you said, everyone in this film is incredible. I mean, you forget that it is so stylized because it sounds so real.
Right. And that's where the in my view the performance and the acting comes to pretty much save that confront not confrontation, but because it's so stylized, the writing that could be potentially dangerous. But because the performances are so good,
Yeah,
they sort of deliver. Their delivery is absolutely stunning.
yeah,
Because Tony Curtis is just amazing,
yeah,
and
yeah,
he speaks super fast.
yeah.
Like, how in the world you rehearse these lines in a
I
way
know.
that they come through, boom, boom, with no thinking twice about it.
Right.
Same as the ones from JJ.
Yeah.
It's just and obviously the idea of the struggle of the power. Who is the one that who's the man who the columnist who will do or not do a star, right? Which was pretty much from that time,
Yeah.
because I am sure that the character of JJ was inspired by a real guy at that time,
Yeah. Yeah.
by a real columnist who had a lot of power and who could do that, because I'm
Yeah. It was
sure that.
Winchell, based on Walter Winchell.
Well, there you go. There you go. In that
Yeah.
sense, you know more than me in terms of the research. But it's just also it talks about more also about the power in between the actor or the actresses that are in need of this columnist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Sandy wants to be JJ. That's quite obvious.
Yeah.
He
Absolutely.
wants, and the reason why is because he's broke.
Right.
That's why he doesn't have money for the coat,
Right.
right? To come to the actual the bar. But at the end, I think both JJ and Sandy they need each other.
Right. Yeah.
It's quite evident that they both and all the performances from even the secret lady, the one that arrives in the bar or is working in the bar and talks to to Sydney, to the sister. The sister is absolutely is a very difficult character to play
Yeah.
that sister because she's literally mentally ill.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, she's so terrified of her brother,
Right,
like she like how fragile she was and
right,
vulnerable.
right.
That's Sally who plays the sister, Jeff. Yeah, Sally. Yeah, Jeff Donnell is her name. Oh, sorry, no, that's not her. Sorry, Susan Hunsaker, Susan
Yeah,
Harrison.
Susan
Uh,
Harrison. Yes,
yeah. But you're right. I also really like the woman who played the cigarette girl, Rita.
right.
Barbara
Yes,
Nichols, because that I mean it was amazing how low there was no bottom for Sidney Falco. Like
no,
he will do anything to get what he wants. And the scene when I guess we'll have to set this up a little bit, but the scene where as I said in the synopsis, JJ doesn't want this this guy in this band to be dating his sister, and
right,
so he gets Sydney to go and smear him, like get another put, but obviously that can't go into his column because then the sister is gonna know
right.
that it's not gonna look good. He's gonna think, oh well, why are you writing terrible things about my boyfriend? So I love the scene where he initially tries to blackmail that one columnist because
Yeah,
he's like, well, if you don't do this, then I'll tell your wife that you've been cheating, and that doesn't
right.
work. And the guy's like, okay, I'll just tell. He just tells her right there in
The
the
wife.
bar, yeah.
Yeah,
And then he goes to that other guy who's like this womanizer, and the fact that he would this poor woman Rita who's like lost her job now, she has a child, no money, and he knows that she trusts him, she likes him, and he's willing to manipulate her and prostitute her to this other columnist, and and again that's very noir, like she's trapped, she's stuck, and she feels like that she has to do it. I thought, oh my god, it's just heartbreaking. That just kills me
that's
every
right.
time.
That's right. No, and also the character of the boyfriend, which is to a degree a very complex character because as a jazz player, he comes across as a country boy, as a
Mm,
country
that's
music kind
true,
of
yeah.
guy. Because usually jazz players are so mellow. I mean, the ones that I've seen and the ones that I met in my life are not in any shape or form tough.
That's true. Yeah,
They,
that's true.
right? So, but this guy, this Dallas guy, comes across as very tough, and he delivers the lines properly, and he
Yeah.
confronts JJ, and he confronts him in a very very powerful way, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's really powerful.
Yeah, that well again, that was a great scene. It was another that's what's so interesting about Sydney and Hunsaker is that they're very good at reading people, so they
Right,
know how people are going to react, they know how to manipulate them, they know how to con them. They know all the right buttons to push. And even that scene when we first see JJ and he's with that senator and that blonde woman, that singer, and then that other guy, and he knows what's really going on. He knows that the
oh
senator
yeah,
is having an affair with this woman.
yes,
you
and that
know,
the agent put her there.
yeah, exactly.
The
Yeah,
agent said that you're putting her with him because there's something for you.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then he even describes Sydney as someone who wears a lot of faces. He's like
Right,
he could play so many different characters in order to get what he wants. But I'm fascinated by how they can manipulate situations, and they knew how to push the right buttons to provoke Steve Dallas, the guy in the band, dating
right,
Susan, so
right.
so that there would be a fight, and then sure enough that he would get Susan to, well, look how this guy's talking to your brother, how can you date him after this? But what I always wonder, and it's sort of open ended, was do you think that the sister knew that was all an act? Or is it not until the cop beats him up later, that's
Well,
the final straw for her?
right. I personally don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she never knew,
Yeah, I didn't
and
think she knew.
exactly, exactly. That's the part. And then you have to also remember, a couple things. Alexander Mackendrick is not an American guy.
No.
He's a British guy. To me, and I'm not saying this because it's relevant or not relevant, is I find it really interesting that a British guy who did The Lady Killers before will jump on this in America
Yeah.
with one of the most quintessential genres of cinema, which
Yeah.
is film noir, right? And I think he did a wonderful job. But
Yeah.
what do you think, in your opinion, why people don't think this is noir?
I think some people are purists in the sense that, well, it has to have a someone has to get shot, there has to be some crime, there has to be a femme fatale, but I don't necessarily agree with that. I think to me the style and the characters and the themes. You know, I think to me, if it, I mean, a lot of noir is, as I'm sure you know, a critique on capitalism and a critique on greed. And
Right.
characters who are morally bankrupt and have no feeling for one another. You know, and Sydney is a perfect example of someone who just he's so ambitious and he'll do anything to
Right.
become JJ. And that to me, that's you see that in. Did you ever see Body and Soul, the John Garfield movie where he's a boxer?
No. No.
There was. It's also it's like a boxing noir, but he's also a has ruthless ambition and will do anything to succeed. And I'm always fascinated by those people, like that they will just push anyone aside to get what they want. And to me, that sense of apathy, that characters who are claustrophobic that we see in this film, to me, it's just it's quintessential noir. So but I think, like I said, I think it's just some of those purists or some people think it has to have certain checkbox, you know, and I don't really agree with that.
I see. No, I completely agree with you because just look at the cinematography, and
Yeah.
it's basically yelling film noir.
Oh, for sure. It's so
And I
expressionistic.
understand, yeah, and I understand what they're saying, but I think this is a very well thought and very well produced and achieved film, and that's why it lasted for so long.
Yeah.
Because the performances of everybody, the idea behind it, and at the end of the day, what is important about these characters is that these sort of archetypes are forever. These
Oh, for
people
sure.
still exist right now
Oh,
in the corporate
absolutely.
world, and
Absolutely.
yeah, and
It
that's
holds up
that's
so
why
well.
we can relate. Yeah, we can
Yeah.
relate because we all met Sandy and we all met JJ somehow throughout our lives, and that's why it's so powerful.
Yeah.
Because oh yes, I remember Johnny. He was exactly like Sandy, and Mark was like JJ. And it's sad. It's sad
Yeah.
because there are people who will do anything to do a quick buck, just like Sandy.
Yeah.
Like Sidney, sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what's powerful the film for me in that sense.
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, we live in a time where these things have only gotten worse. You know?
Exactly.
Unfortunately,
Exactly.
I like the scene where even Sydney thinks that JJ's going too far. You know, to when he's like, did you see? You know, they finally get them split apart after that big fight that they manipulated, and then sure enough, he's like, okay, great, they're not together anymore. And then that's when he tells him to go get the crooked cop in order to beat him up because of the way he talked to him. And you see how even Sydney is horrified. Like, you're just gonna put them right back together if you do something like that. But I love how it's just the way it was blocked, how he's standing at first, and then he starts to sit down slowly as JJ says, "Well, who do you think is going to write my column when I'm away?" You know, in other words, you can write my column if you'll do this. And how he's almost like a little dog that just like with a bone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just the way Tony Curtis slowly sits down. It's almost like sit boy, sit boy. I thought that was
Right.
just brilliant.
Yes, no, I agree. I agree. There, the movie has many, many moments that are completely priceless. It's like when at the end they leave Susan waiting inside of the building, and the cop says to Sydney, "Is she still there?" And then we look at the camera through the camera, and she's still there.
Yeah,
That scene is absolutely beautiful
yeah,
because
yeah.
she's basically cracking down, like being completely devastated, but she's in a very, very far away plan. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
tons of these moments, you know?
Oh, for sure. And she finally beats them at their own game at the end. I mean, I love how she turns the con on them. Um, yeah, and in the end, she someone I was looking because I reviewed this film before, but it was a shorter review back when the show first started. And one thing that that my the co-host the on that episode pointed out was the fact that she's wearing that mink coat for most of the film that her brother bought for her, and then at the end the coat is off, so it's like he owns her. It's a
Yeah,
great metaphor for that
absolutely.
coat is very much like I own you and you're gonna wear what I tell you to wear. And then in the end, when she goes on her own and she finally is able to stand up to her brother, um, and beats them at their own game. She takes the coat off. I mean, it's absolutely. I didn't pick up. Did you pick up on that? I thought it was
No,
brilliant. Yeah,
no, I didn't until right now when you said
I
it, but
didn't either until I when I was looking back at the review. I thought I'm going to mention that again because it's
I
a great
see.
note. Yeah.
It is.
Uh, Yeah, for sure, for sure. Because there's so many details in this film. I mean, sometimes you have to really pay attention to the dialogue. Sometimes, I mean,
Yeah,
they're fairly obvious what they're saying, even though they don't blatantly say things because it's so stylized. But every time I see it, I hear something new or I rethink some of those lines. I'm like, oh, that's what he's saying there. That you just gotta maybe think about them slightly,
right,
not that they're so puzzling, um,
right.
but some of them are fairly obvious, but not everything is, and you
No,
always hear something new, every single
exactly.
time, every single
Exactly.
time.
Especially because they speak so fast and so
That's another
assertive,
thing, yeah,
right? You know, and that's something that, and plus you have to remember that it's not only the language, but the way people spoke at that time.
right,
You know, in that type of America, in those sort of milieus, as they say in French. But it's that's what's powerful because it really. Uh, I am sure that you agree that you know that writer that loves. What's the name of the writer who wrote L.A. Confidential?
oh God, it's at the tip of my tongue. I'm gonna look it up.
Sure, look it up because
He's a huge, well, LA Confidential is noir, but he's a huge noir fan as well.
right.
James Elroy.
James Elroy. Okay, James Elroy has said many times in interviews how complex the film noir language is because there's
Yeah,
so many expressions that are completely outdated
yeah,
that only can only refer to that world in
right.
that at that moment. And if you don't know the reference, I mean, just take a look at one line. The cat is in the bag and the bag is in the river. To say that it's a done deal.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
it's just so unbelievably creative,
Oh, I
right?
know. I
Because
know.
they're speaking almost like in code. In code,
Yeah, yeah.
this
Code.
is
That's
a code for
exactly
that,
it.
and this is a code for that.
Right.
And James Elroy has, I am sure that many of the expressions in LA Confidential are from super well researched because the guy is an absolutely insane researcher, and
Yeah.
he researched everything to the last point. You know, the same as the Black Dahlia and all these lingos and all these ways of speaking by cops and by criminals at that time. It is absolutely fascinating. Don't get me wrong, but it takes pretty much a few semesters in school to get it,
Right.
basically, because it's super complex,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No, for absolutely. Well said. The I I mean it's fairly obvious, but JJ's clearly is it incestual from your point of view that he's in love with his sister? I mean that he doesn't want her to date anyone, not just this guy.
No, no, no. I think I mean I didn't get that vibe of incest. I just had the vibe of total and absolute control.
Ah, you
Like I want to control you because I want to know what I know what is the best for you, and I'm willing to give you everything, but that give you everything has a price, and that price is for me to absolutely have the total control of you and your life and whatever you do, which is more evil than well, it's not as evil as incest, but it's actually at the same level for me
Hmm.
because you're basically denying the person to recognize their own dignity and their own value as a human being.
Right. I mean, and he controls everybody. I mean, all the press agents,
Pretty
like
much.
Sydney. I mean, Sydney's like he totally controls him,
Oh,
um,
absolutely.
down to a T. Yeah. It's certainly open ended. I always thought it was incestual, like he's in love with her, or
Yes,
but I mean, it can go for me. It can go either way, I suppose,
right.
or it's
And
both.
also another thing is that at that time, who could have played those characters at that time? For me, Sandy could have been played by Richard Widmark, right? For instance, because Richard Widmark was
Oh, I could
an
see that. Yeah.
unbelievable film noir guy,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
would get the tone right away. I'm not
Yeah.
sure about who can actually be better than Burt Lancaster, since in this case is absolutely perfectly cast.
Apparently, initially they wanted Wells,
Wow. Okay.
which I could, I think that would, I could see Wells doing it actually. I mean, I think the
Right.
way it's cast is perfect, but but yeah, I could see that Woodmark and Wells. I think that would have been interesting too.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because at that time, Wells was not as heavy set as he became after later on. I mean,
Right.
to because you have to make I don't know, you have to make believe that the character is it's evil and controlling, and for some reason, it had to be someone who's actually relatively slender in my view,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Because for instance the places and the locations for the film would have been a very different way to frame Wells because I mean I don't know how what would have been his weight in 57 but Lancaster was perfect for me, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he was already because I'm thinking Touch of Evil was around the same time, so he was already
Yes,
fairly heavy, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah. We could only guess what what it would have been like with other actors. But
Right,
yeah, Widmark, yeah, I could certainly see that. I think the way it was cast was perfect with these two. I mean, they're just chemistry was amazing.
right, absolutely agree with you on that.
Yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to say about the film?
No, I would like to invite your audience to see it for the first time if that's the case, and to if they see it to comment on your show based
Yeah.
on that, like, on that experience, because I think it's important, even though now with the cinephilia being absolutely dead, it's difficult. But I'm hoping that this podcast with you and I will encourage people to see something that is considered a masterpiece by many people, not only
Yeah,
us.
for sure.
And it should be a fun moment, a fun moment,
Yeah.
and also an inspiring moment to see something that was created, 70 years ago, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
What are you can you share anything you're working on now? Here you want to talk about the show coming up in Toronto?
I'm sure. I mean, I'm working on a contemporary dance piece, an event that I created as a conceptual art. That would be staged on April 11th at Hart House Music Room. So if you are watching this show, just come down to Hart House on Saturday, April 11th around 7, and you will be blown away by how unbelievably amazing the outcome is for that show that we've worked so hard for over 5 years for one simple hour.
My God.
I know.
I can't wait. I'll be there.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
Yes.
my friend.
Can people get tickets in advance or is it purely at the door?
I can send you the link for Eventbrite,
Okay.
so you can post it on your on your video. That would be great if you can do that for us.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they can buy the tickets there.
Okay. Great. I'll leave the
Mhm.
link in the description box below. And
Okay,
if
thank you.
people want to follow you, Mikkel, on social media or your website, where can they go?
Sure, sure. They can follow me by just googling my name. I'm pretty out there. Otherwise, they can check mikelguillen.com, which is GUILLEN.com, or just Google me based on the description of this video. And that's how they can get a hold of me if they want to continue, or they want to invite me for a coffee, or they're beautiful. I don't know, whatever, whatever the case might be.
I love it.
Yes, it's
Okay, great. Well, I'll leave the links in the description box below for where you can follow
thank you,
Mikkel and check out his the show coming up on April 11th. So all the details will be in the description box below.
thank you, Robert.
So, Mikkel, thanks again for coming on. Always great to have you, and look forward to having you back.
No problem. Anytime, my friend. It's always a pleasure to speak with you about such specific films. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Anytime, anytime. And those
Thank
of you
you.
watching at home, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. If this is your first time here, please consider subscribing by pressing the Robert Bellissimo at the Movies logo. You will see it floating above my head in the top left corner to your top left. In just a second, just click on that and then click the bell in order to get a notification every time I release one of my new episodes. It is absolutely free to subscribe. I want to thank all of my members on Patreon. If you are interested in becoming a member of my Patreon, I'd really appreciate the support. Please go to patreon.com/Robert Bellissimo at the Movies for full details. Thank you again, everyone, for watching, and I will see you all in the next episode.